Good afternoon, everyone. Just want to give another minute or two till everyone gathers in, and we'll get our presentation started this afternoon. Okay, I think we can get started here this afternoon. For anyone that else that will be joining us afterwards, they can just trickle into our presentation. I just want to greet everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to our July municipal member Q&A session. This will be our fourth session for this year already. We also have the recordings of our previous Q&A sessions in our YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube, search up Ontario One Call, and then you should be able to find our three previous Q&A sessions that we have had there. Keep in mind there's two different sessions that we host, one for municipal members, and the other members are the infrastructure members as well too. So there's two different recordings in there that you can select. For those joining us for the first time, this is an informal webinar session, so I'll be providing a quick deal introductory presentation. Then we'll be opening up the floor for a Q&A. So at that time, all attendees can be unmuted, and you can provide your feedbacks and whatnot, or questions that you may have during that time. So feel free to share any questions, thoughts, concerns, experience with the new legal dedicated locator model. As for in-house rule at the time, please ensure that you mute yourself if you're not speaking. Once again, the goal here is to spark communication between members to members and ourselves regarding the new deal model as we continue to transition industry-wide. So like I said, I'm just going to do a brief introductory again for Dedicated Locator for those who have just joining us. What is Dedicated Locator? It was introduced in Bill 93. Dedicated Locator is a groundbreaking solution designed to enhance the efficiency of locate delivery. What that is that it is a single locating resources that is used to mark all underground infrastructure within a project area, which has proven significant advantages to large-scale and long-term excavation projects. Now, what are some of the benefits for Dedicated Locator? First thing, here are a few that we have listed and what we are currently experiencing and what we're seeing out there. First thing, the main important is gaining control and efficiency. It allows the project owner or contractor to get locates when, where, and as often as their project requires, working hand in hand with their DLSP. With that itself, having that capability of when and where is required for locates, it does reduce a lot of the downtime of the project. So as locates are completed under the direction of one project owner, scheduling the excavation on a schedule is more achievable now. So therefore there's not a lot of crew standby where crews are standing by because of no locates or incomplete locates. Under a dedicated locator model, that is more achievable now to schedule on-time projects. With that itself, one of the highest turnaround feedbacks that we are getting under a dedicated locator model is prevention of damage. With that, having a single locator or a locating service company servicing that project and always available to the project, it promotes a safer excavation practice. So project owners, contractors have the direct access to a DLSP within the job site to provide fresh locate markings and clarification for any infrastructure prior to any excavation. Now, in previous, model or in a public stream, obtaining fresh locates on a large scale excavation areas could be a quite difficult in this case, right? Just they have to go through a public stream, waiting 2 or 3 weeks. Now there's those delays. So with dedicated locator model, there is a single resource on site available, readily available for the project owner for when and where issues are arise. With that as well too, we're looking at is improved flexibility, right? So you have the reduced downtime, you have the access to when and where of the locates. It does improve flexibility for the project. So when anticipated conflicts require project change, working with the DLSP to stay ahead of the excavation crew allows the flexibility to shift dig areas when needed without having to wait for completion of a locate package under the standard public stream. With that, this is for the biggest portion for members. It decreased the reliance, right? What that is, it decreased the reliance on the regular pool of public locate for for yourself as a members for your resources that you have for your public stream. So members, you're paying for your own locate resource to locate someone else's capital build. In previous model or under the public stream, under dedicated locator, that is taking away that burden away from your load. Therefore, it's good use of your taxpayers' money. Um, Putting in the right resources, putting it in the public stream, putting it to where it's required for you, to complete those locates or even to your own capital build, rather than an entity coming into your area there, where it would take a lot of burden off your resources. And obviously that goes into the budgeting and whatnot of providing locates for that large scale project and upkeeping to that project needs. So how does dedicated locator work? Here where I'm going to go through just a high level summary, steps to how it works. For those who wants to get an in-depth DL process, feel free to reach out to our team. We can schedule an in-depth DL process presentation to your team, to discuss more how this process would affect yourself as a member or yourself as a project owner for any of your capital work and whatnot that you may want to look into putting under the dedicated locator model. So we start off with the project owner submitting a 90-day notice or a regional request notice to Ontario One Call and the selection of an approved dedicated locator service provider. With that, Ontario One Call identifies the buried infrastructure owners, members within the vicinity of the project or the region that they stipulate that they will be working in or where their project scope is. Then the members are in between that. The members are notified through Ontario One Call, indicating the project submission and indicating who the project owner and the DLSP would. And then from there, the members provide the DLSP with infrastructure record mapping, whichever is required to locate your infrastructure properly. And obviously from the last point there, and once all that is transferred to the dedicated locate service provider, the dedicated locate service provider will complete the locates for that project load only. So what that is that it's separating once the project is all set up. That load of locates that are being called in, and they still do have to call in standard locates, but those standard locates that is coming through rather than coming through the standard process of the public stream, the members getting notified, that is taking off that and it's just only notifying the dedicated local. So here's in the next few slides, just giving you a quick update to what we're currently seeing and what's happening in the DL world. So right now, what's currently happening is a list of all the project owners that have succeeded in and have been all set up under the new dedicated locator model. On the right-hand side there, we do have an imminent there where, they're coming very close. So City of Burlington, YorkNet are two project owners that have taken advantage or utilizing DL, are currently in the setup process. So they're just going through the conversations with members and just ensuring to get the proper requirements for their DLSP to go ahead and proceed and locate the infrastructure under the DL model. Upcomings are just few interested project owners that we have ongoing conversations with. So these are project owners that are, getting the informations right now, kind of preparing for, for an official submission this upcoming year. Now, by the numbers here, what we're looking at here are dedicated locate requests that are coming through under the dedicated locator model. As I mentioned, obviously under a dedicated locator model, locate requests are still submitted just like a standard process, but just the notification is just taken out from the public stream, but instead going to the dedicated locator model side of things. We're looking at just Solo itself with the numbers from January till now. You can see a steady increase. Obviously, from May to June, we are seeing a bit of a plateau there, just because with dedicated locator model, you can obviously see as well too that when locates are provided on time and when are needed, the relocates amount of coming through the system actually decrease as well, because the need of relocates lessens when you have a lot more access to a locate itself. So what we're looking at here is the June number. Now, what's a good thing is that we actually have comparable numbers now from last year as well too, from the time we started last year of May to now. So if we look at the June number and our current number right now for this year, you can see the double. It pretty much doubled up to itself. And that is on a track that we see excel throughout the year, doubling it up the numbers itself. So if you look at the year to date numbers, we already exceeded the amount of total locate request numbers on the DL side for this year, comparable for all of last year that we had for dedicated locate, and we're just 6 months in. So, we are expecting that by the end of the year, we would double to triple up the numbers under the DL as we get more members or as we get more project owners utilize dedicated locate model. Going back with the numbers here, we are looking at just the June numbers here. So we specifically pulled out numbers for the month of June. This is the top 10 dedicated locator active regions. So we can see York Region, Toronto, Ottawa are topping the top 3 regions to where dedicated locate are being utilized in those regions itself, and then from all the way down to Peel, Simcoe, Hamilton, Niagara. All have active DL models are already active within those areas. And from the next one here, the slides are showing the top 10 dedicated locator active project owners. So these are the project owners that are utilizing the dedicated locator model for the month of June. You can see the total numbers that are being completed by project owners. Obviously, you can look at the top 2 there, Bell Canada and Rogers, fully utilizing the dedicated locator model for their fiber to home builds projects all across Ontario. So just this slide is a brief description, and I believe this is very beneficial for members to understand and who are the dedicated locate service provider and how are they coming through to this, into the model and servicing project owners. On the left-hand side there, you can see the active DLSP that are currently in projects. So these are boots on the ground now. They are locating for projects now that are set up under the new dedicated locator model. So we have GTEL, Multiview, ProMark, CLI, PVS. We have Acon in there as well too. Premier Locates and HDP, all active as dedicated locate service provider. On the right hand side here are the ones that are very close, who are on their final steps into getting into a dedicated locator or with the project submission that they have. So we're looking at Ledcor, Tierra Geomatics, TransCanada Utilities, CCS, all very close to getting their projects that have been selected for completely set up under the dedicated locator model. And so in the next coming month, on our next update, we hope to see them over to the left-hand side there as active boots on the ground dedicated locator service provider. And at the bottom there, we're just looking at few of the interested LSP parties right now that we have multiple conversation with that are positioning themselves to becoming dedicated locate service providers. So some members may have some conversation between some of these LSPs already or upcoming conversation going through, but this is a good visualization for your side of things who are coming through or who are have met those framework that for a dedicated locator and kind of working their way through the system itself. Another thing I want to point out from since our last update on June, about I believe this has been released 2 weeks ago. We did a web page update or website update for Ontario One Call. So it's been refreshed, as you can see here with the screenshot that we have. Um, part of that is an update on our dedicated locator web page as well too. So the formatting and the feel and looks of it is just bit of a change on our end here. So, feel free to go in there to our homepage, OntarioOneCall.ca. At the bottom there, you can see a link. On the top options there on our webpage, you'll see a dedicated locator section there or webpage. You can go through there. That's where you'll find all of our resources and any informations, forms that's related to dedicated locator and the process itself. Feel free to provide us any feedbacks for to help us share any more improvements to this format. So just wanted to share this out to the to you guys there. Should you have any feedbacks or anything like that, feel free to reach over to our team to what you would like to see in this webpage in terms of resource wise for dedicated locator, especially for the member side. We want to build that a little bit more informational for you guys. We do have these monthly Q&A readily available for you guys that we send out monthly. But in terms of resources, readily available resources, we want to improve that on our end as well too. So any feedbacks that you want to see or improve on our end, let us know. We can get that, we can take that in consideration and update that on our webpage. So that is my quick update for this month. Like I said, this is an open forum. I would like to open the forum to everyone to have. If you have any questions, discussions, or you want to share, your experiences through this DL model right now, this is your time to shine. Please feel free to unmute yourself. Or we do also have on this Q&A, there is on the top right hand. There should be an option there for questions and asks, and you can put that through in there. And if you can just type in any of your questions in there. So at that time, I'll leave it up to the floor for any questions. Okay, so we got a bit of a quiet crowd here, so maybe we'll go through the previous frequently asked questions on our previous sessions that we may have, kind of spark some conversation here. Previous sessions, we have several questions that kind of came through that we have provided answers to. One thing we want to look at there, is there a standard template for the dedicated locator agreement between project owner and DLSP? The answer to that is yes, we do have a base framework or foundation, to sort of say, that was provided to us by the Locate Alliance Consortium. That is an updated version for the 2023. So I know previously some members may have the old version of 2022 or last year's version, where there was a bit of a confusion between some wordings on that on that foundation. So we do have an updated version. So those who doesn't have their hands on that yet, reach over to our team. We can share that information to you. Once again, this is a foundation framework. It's not something that is a word for word that you can use itself. It is a foundation that you can use for how an agreement would look like. Keep in mind, under to go into dedicated locator, it is a recommendation, obviously, for servicing in terms of getting an agreement in place for the liabilities or how you wish you want to get your infrastructure located and whatnot. So that's the reason why it's suggested. So that's one of the things that we have in there. Second one that we want to look at is with regards to ongoing relationship with the three parties involved. It seems like it would be more simpler to maintain a relationship between a member and a DLSP, since they are using local or regional, but they are in an agreement between project owner and member. So what that really is that the agreement is primarily between a member and a DLSP. Just like a standard process, if you were to tender out your public locate load, the agreement is with the LSP that you chose of, and that agreement obviously stipulates the liabilities, the escalation process, how to locate your infrastructure, anything that you require to put into agreement in terms of locating infrastructure is all within that. Now, however, there's some projects that we have seen where it works out a bit, a bit better for the member side to involve a tri-party agreement. In some cases, we have seen that. More specifically, some municipalities are going through that just to get in the involvement rather than directly to the DLSP. Once again, it is not part of our legislation or our act in terms of mandating or formatting that in terms of how the agreement would look like. That is between the member to the DLSP or the project itself to kind of work out itself. That our team here, Ontario One Call, can provide some mediation or some provide some assistance and direction to that, but if we don't mandate it, so to say. Um, so like I said, we can facilitate mediation between parties for an amicable agreement on that point. Is there a framework or module to follow when it comes to training DLSP for a DL project? So this was a really good question that was asked previously. We do have a framework available in our webpage, or reach over to us. So that framework, it's a framework that we work with high risk infrastructure owners, and it is a base level requirement that most high risk infrastructure owners are qualifying dedicated local service provider. So that's one portion that you can look at, but it doesn't limit any additional training that you specifically require for your infrastructure itself. So if there's any additional access training, manhole entry and whatnot, those are something that you can stipulate with the DLSP and kind of work out how you can get that set up with them for go ahead and locate your infrastructure itself. But once again, yeah, that framework itself is a comprehensive and a form to a bare minimum to gain approval for a DLSP. Any other additional requirements that you may have, that's something you can stipulate with the project owner or the DLSP to work out with, and obviously meet in between to ensure that that is amicable between all parties itself. Okay, we can go through another 3 questions here, or we can open up the floor. But I'll continue on. But feel free to stop me at any point if you do have any questions or you want to throw in anything in there. But I'll continue on my side. So how does an alternative timeline agreement work, and what needs to be done to establish this? This is a great question, and a lot of members here have gone across and asked this. Pretty much under the legislation, it does stipulate in there that members have 10 days to comply under the notification received from Ontario One Call of the DL project. So with that, within those 10 days, you are to acknowledge the dedicated locator project, to agree to it, to agree with the DLSP, and from there on, provide your mapping standards and training and agreements, and so on that you require. With that being said, if the timeline is not met there, so most of the timeline it gets delayed due to, let's say, mapping or providing how to provide mapping, or in terms of agreement. And we can all say that agreement may be the one that may is the biggest barrier here, because everyone's going to around to it for the first time, if sort of say, and agreements go through legal teams, and some legal teams can take a little bit longer than what it is, right? In that sense, if it's not met within the 10 days, the member can approach the project owner and the dedicated locator service provider to request an alternative timeline for the member to provide the requirements required to go ahead and proceed. It can be in written form, and it has to be agreeable between all parties. So in written form, what I meant by that is email. It could be just a simple email respond to our notification that we send out initially, saying that you agree to the DL project, you agree to the dedicated local service provider, but we do require additional timeline for producing the agreement, or the contractual portion of it, or providing the mapping. That itself is considered as a written approval, written agreement, as long both parties have confirmed and acknowledged it. And with that, a suggestion is that we need to see a traction, a progression towards this, right? An alternative timeline does not mean that you're just requesting an alternative timeline, but you're not providing a timeline at all. There has to be a specific timeline and within the 90 days of the notice that is provided to you. So when a project is initially submitted, they are submitting that 90 days period to their start date of their dig or excavation. So that hence the reason for that 90 days stipulated on the legislation is because that is the 90 days that is proven that is required to produce, whichever requirements for that DLSP to proceed to locate the infrastructure. So whether or not that is training, whether or not that's agreement between the parties and, any standards mapping and whatnot, that will be all within the 90 days. And as of that 90th day, then at that point, the setup should be all completed and the project owner can proceed to submit locate requests and the dedicated locate service provider can proceed and complete those locate. So as long that alternative timeline stays within the 90 days and there is progression and traction working in that between, and obviously using ourselves as dedicated as our Ontario One Call team, should you require any mediation or assistance to progressing with the project owner or the DLSP at this point, let us know. So that way we can all work together hand in hand to get things moving to progress to the next step here. With that, we can look at the second question. The second questions there. So how should we provide access to the DLSP for mapping or any other information they may require without breaching your security? So this is a great question. A lot of it is coming across where there's no really required. The legislation doesn't really advise you how you translate that mapping. It's any form of mapping that you can translate to the DLSP that is the most accurate, and for you, for the DLSP to locate your infrastructure properly and accurately and to the best needs that they require. Whether or not that is through GIS access or any other access that may require. That's something that you will stipulate with the DLSP. Now, in most cases that we have seen, there's, obviously there's some members, they may have sensitive information or sensitive infrastructure, where in this case, NDAs are, provided or set forward to the DLSP and the project owner. Once again, these are not all part of this legislation for dedicated locators. So whichever requirement that you do have as a member to protect yourself in breach of any security, those are something you would need to prep and set up on your side of things and allow the project owner or the DLSP to have those sign-offs to ensure that everyone's protecting themselves in terms of these security situations based on that. But in terms of mapping wise, however mapping you do have right now that you provide to your public stream locators will be the same type of mapping that you can provide to the dedicated locate service provider for them to locate their infrastructure, for them to locate your infrastructure safely. All right, and then the last one I have here, and I'm hoping that you guys have any questions or anything else that you guys want to input this. What happens if a project owner sends the member agreement or member authorization want to use them? So as a member, there are legal requirements under the Onus Act to comply with this part of DL model. If you do not accept the suggested dedicated locator, then you need to raise your concern to the project owner or to Ontario One Call immediately within the 10-day window that we provided that notice. Reason being for that, obviously, we have to ensure that both parties agree on a DLSP. We need to understand what may be the issue of that DLSP being selected and not being approved in that case by that member. And if that's not provided within the 10-day window, and other members have agreed to that DLSP, and maybe only yourself as a member disagree with it, at this point, that project is moving forward, right? So that's the reason why it is very important to notify that within the 10-day window that you do not agree, and you gotta have a reason to what the disagreement is. It could be something that could be worked out between our ends, so the parties can get involved and have that discussion.
Couldn't see how to do that, but
Do you have anyone there have any questions or input you guys want to put through?
Nope, sorry, my mic was on. My apologies.
No worries, no worries. Um, yeah, and so just going back to the agreement there, keep in mind you cannot self-locate or continue on with your current process right now when there's a DL submitted or DL project submitted. um, there has to be one DLSP only. So there, in some cases, we have come across with where a member have put forward their own self-locating resources to meet with the dedicated locator, um, or to become the dedicated local service provider. What you're essentially advising them is that you want to use your own internal resources to upkeep with their project need, which in this case, your own resources would require to locate all the infrastructure. So with that being said, you're paying for your own resources for that project's need as well. So that really does not fall under what a dedicated locator is, or doesn't really benefit you as a member, because as a dedicated locator, you are trying to remove that strain off from you, off from your, from your burden of your public resource. Okay, that's all that we have for our, that's all I have for my frequently asked question from previous session. Um, if you guys have any questions, put it through. But what we also want to do is we want to improve this session going forward. Um, any feedback, suggestions that you may want to see on our next session here. We are looking to get maybe some members to provide some sort of a presentation to just kind of share their experience. So that's something that we are looking into for the next coming sessions. Perhaps you've gone through the dedicated locator model process, and want to share your process of how you've gone through it, right? We are an industry itself, and we are trying to all help each other here move forward with this new legislation. This is what this format or platform is. So that suggestion and sharing that experience is very beneficial for everyone all here for us to move forward. And yeah, just notify us and see what else you guys have based on that suggestion. Okay, I'll leave out the floor here. I'll give it about a few more minutes here, just see if we have anyone have questions. I'll open up the floor now. Okay, so seems like I'm hoping that everyone, my information in here is very great. That there's not much questions, but we do have our contact information. Deal at ontarioonecall.ca. Should you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Um, Obviously, if you require a one-on-one call from us directly to just discuss DL on your member perspective that you may not want to share here, notify us. This is what our team is for. Uh, we can schedule those onboarding calls or any educational calls with you guys, just to ensure that you guys have all the proper information and how we can help everyone move forward from the dedicated locus model itself. Um, but aside from that, I'll give it another minute or so for anyone else that want to throw in their last minute questions. If not, then I can give you guys back your 25 minutes of this afternoon from this session. So we'll go from there. Okay, so I guess that's this final call. I want to thank everyone again for this afternoon for taking the time to join us. Once again, feedback, suggestion. Let us know what you want to see in the next session here. Am I boring you guys out too much in this session for you guys to be quiet? Let us know. I would like to get your feedback. I would like to, see what more information we can provide to you, or what other members that are willing to share their experiences and whatnot to you in the next session. But aside from that, once again, you know where to contact us, deal@ontarioonecall.ca. If no one else have any questions, I would like to thank you again and have a good afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.